Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Alright, let me set the stage. My older sister, Anna, has always been difficult. She's the oldest of us siblings, and growing up, she seemed to think that made her the family authority on everything. When she talks, it's not about sharing an opinion, it's a decree. She sees life as black and white. You're either right or you're wrong. And spoiler alert, in Anna's world, she's always right. The thing is, she's not just opinionated, she's judgmental. Like, oh, you're raising your kids that way? That's not how I do it, so you must be failing, judgmental. For years, she's made it clear that she doesn't approve of my choices, especially the fact that I'm a stay-at-home mom. She's never hesitated to call me lazy or unambitious because I chose to focus on my kids instead of climbing the corporate ladder. And it's not just offhand comments, it's full-blown lectures. My husband has had to leave the room more than once because he was so fed up with her condescending remarks. Eventually, he put his foot down. She wasn't welcome in our home anymore. And if she couldn't respect us, she wasn't going to spend time with our kids either. It might sound harsh, but honestly, it was a relief. The peace in our house after cutting her out? Mwah! Chef's kiss. To be fair, I never particularly liked Anna. Even as kids, she always seemed more interested in telling me what I was doing wrong than actually, being a big sister. The final nail in the coffin of my tolerance for her came back when I was in college. I met a guy named Rob. At first, he seemed perfect, charming, funny, attentive. The kind of guy who made me feel special. But over time, things changed. He became controlling, manipulative, and eventually aggressive. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to realize how bad it had gotten. By the time I finally saw the truth, I felt trapped. I didn't know how to get out, and I was terrified of what might happen if I tried. It wasn't until I called the police and he was arrested that I finally had the courage to leave. Even then, I was shaken to my core. I had to rebuild my confidence from scratch, and I knew I couldn't do it alone. So I turned to family. Anna's reaction was exactly what you'd expect. When I told her what had happened, I wasn't looking for a lecture. I just wanted my sister to be there for me. To say, "I'm so sorry this happened to you," or "How can I help?" But no. Instead, she jumped straight to criticism. "How could you not see the signs?" she asked, as if I hadn't already beaten myself up enough. "You must have known he was trouble, but you ignored it because you wanted a hot bad boy boyfriend. And look where that got you." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I wasn't coming to her for a critique of my judgment. I wasn't looking for a list of what I should have done differently. I was looking for my sister. And instead, I got a reminder of why I never turned to her in the first place. That day, I told her that if she ever found herself in a similar situation, I wouldn't help her either. I was tired of being kicked while I was down. From that point on, I stopped trying with Anna. I focused on my husband, my kids, and my two other sisters, who, thankfully, are nothing like her. Fast forward to now. A few days ago, Anna's husband, her husband of 7 years, put his hands on her. I don't know all the details, but apparently they were arguing, and in the middle of it, he slapped her and called her all kinds of horrible names. She left the house and went to stay with our parents. They called the cops, and he was arrested. Now she's staying at their house, trying to figure out her next steps. My dad called me shortly after all this went down. He told me what happened and asked if I could bake something for Anna, something to cheer her up. I guess that's my role in the family now, the baker. I'm the one who makes cookies, pies, and cakes for birthdays, holidays, and family gatherings. But when he asked me to whip up something for Anna, my answer was an immediate no. I told him, "She has you and Mom, and she's got her dog. What more does she need?" To be honest, it wasn't just that I didn't feel like baking. It was that I didn't feel like doing anything for Anna. For years, she's been dismissive, condescending, and downright cruel. She's never shown me any compassion or understanding, so why should I go out of my way for her now? Apparently, my dad had me on speakerphone because Anna overheard and started yelling. She called me heartless and demanded to know why I wouldn't support her during this tough time. and that's when I reminded her of the past. I told her, why should I care for someone who ignored all the red flags just because he was a doctor? You used to brag about how he was such a great catch because of his career. Well, look where that got you. She lost it. She started crying, screaming, saying I was cruel and unfair. I just hung up. Her voice was grating on me, and I didn't see the point in continuing the conversation. Not long after, my mom called. She said I was being cruel and that I needed to apologize and show compassion. She even threatened not to speak to me until I changed my attitude. I said, fine. If you're going to cut me off over this, then you're cutting out my husband and kids too. It's not like Anna has a big presence in their lives anyway. She barely visits, even though she lives just 30 minutes away. Why should I go out of my way for someone who's never gone out of her way for me? Since then, my parents haven't spoken to me. The whole situation has me questioning myself. On one hand, I feel justified. Anna has never shown me any kindness or empathy. She's never been a supportive sister, so why should I be a supportive sister to her now? On the other hand, I can't help but wonder if I should have taken the high road. Should I have been the bigger person and offered her some comfort, even if she's never done the same for me? So here I am, wondering if I made the right call. Am I the a-hole for refusing to show sympathy to someone who's always been so judgmental and unsupportive of me? Or is it about time she learned what it feels like to be on the receiving end of the cold shoulder? OP is definitely not the a-hole. Anna has spent years tearing OP down, so it's no surprise that OP doesn't feel compelled to jump to her side now that she's in trouble. Sympathy isn't a given. It's earned through mutual respect and kindness, which she's never shown OP. From the way OP has described it, Anna has always been judgmental, dismissive, and quick to point out OP's flaws, with zero empathy when OP was going through hard times. I can't imagine the level of exhaustion OP must feel after dealing with that dynamic for so long. Now that she's finally facing a difficult moment, it's understandable that OP wouldn't have much left to give. OP is allowed to prioritize her own emotional well-being and boundaries instead of bending over backward for someone who's never done the same for her. While some might argue that being the bigger person would help mend the relationship, that only works if the other person is willing to meet you halfway. And it doesn't sound like Anna's ever done that. And now let's hear the community's opinion. I don't blame you for feeling the way you do. It sounds like Anna has a long history of belittling you and showing zero empathy for your struggles. Why would anyone expect you to be a supportive sister when she's been the opposite for so long? Not the a-hole. You're not a robot who can just flip a switch and forget all the years of her judgment. Honestly, it sounds like this was a long time coming. Anna made it clear that she didn't respect you, and now she wants the same respect in return? Life doesn't work that way. I get that it's a tough situation, but you're not the villain for standing up for yourself and refusing to play the doting sister. Not the a-hole. Your sister has spent her whole life criticizing your choices and making you feel small. Now that the tables have turned, you're supposed to sweep all that under the rug? I don't think so. Not the a-hole. It's not like you're wishing ill on her. You're just choosing not to expend emotional energy on someone who's never shown you any. Totally fair. Recently, around 5 months ago, my 79-year-old grandfather from my father's side died, leaving me with exactly $60,000 that he'd saved up for me. Me, 23 male, being a student, and providing accommodation for myself and my boyfriend is hard, so this helped a ton. Come Thursday morning, I get a surprising call from my boyfriend. Some background info. My biological mom died when I was 3, and so R, my stepmom, and my biological dad took me in so I wouldn't have to go through social care services. R has 2 biological children, W, 19 male, and A, 17 female. Since my dad is, well, my dad, he has all of my bank details to monitor my spending and savings. Except the call I received Thursday was quite literally dizzying. It was my boyfriend, calling from work asking why I'd just spent $50,000 on a car. I have no idea what he's talking about. So while we're on the phone, I go to check my bank account, $50K in the hole. I tell my boyfriend that I've got to go, and I haul a taxi to the bank in our city center. I didn't succeed in getting any information. So I go to my dad's house since it's closer to the city center. And in the driveway leading to my dad's garage, what do I see? Is it A, a brand new car that looks worth $50K? B, A brand new car that looks worth $50K. C. A brand new car that looks worth $50K. Or D. All of the above. So I go in and start confronting my dad about why there's a new car in the driveway on the same day that I'd lost all my bank savings. He had no idea what I meant and just replied with a confused, "What do you mean? That's the car R bought for W." Huh? Dad was more than enraged to find out that she had spent for my granddad's inheritance, plus the fact that she had lied to him when she said that the car had been from her own savings. She was out shopping, so I thankfully didn't run into her. So I took away my bank details from my dad, and I told him that I never wanted to see R again, and that if she didn't return the car within a week, I would report her for fraud. He understood, but soon R's whole family, including both of her parents, her sisters, and her children, were all spamming me, saying that I was doing too much. Soon R messaged me herself, manipulating me by saying things like, "You made me cry," and "It's not even that much. What's your problem?" I was speechless. I called her to see if she was serious, and apparently yes. She was screaming at me about being disrespectful and ungrateful. I just blocked her and all her family. But did I go too far by saying I would report her? Also, just a little detail. Only my dad had access to my card details on his phone, meaning that she stole it from not only me, but also my dad. The situation is all so complicated, and I feel like I don't know what to do. But am I the a-hole for threatening to report her for financial fraud? I feel like I went too far for it. You need to press charges right now. It's not fraud, it's straight up theft. It's a felony. You are 23, and Dad or R should have never had your bank details. Do not wait. Take care of this now. Not sure where you are, but in the 3 U.S. states I've lived, bought cars in, you can't return a car. You sign a document acknowledging this. So you need the police report to give to your bank to try to get it back. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You should call the bank and the police first thing in the morning. Waiting a week just makes it look like you gave her the money, then changed your mind. And I guarantee that's what she'll claim happened. You need to report the theft immediately. You can always decide to drop the theft charges on your stepmom if your dad brings the car back to the dealership and gets your money back. Of course, they won't give the full cost back after it's been driven off the lot. And every day she keeps it will make it less likely the dealership will give any of the money back. Don't wait. You're just screwing yourself over at this point. Not the a-hole. This is plain outright theft. Speak to a lawyer to get clarification, but report her to the police. Don't let them all gaslight you. This is your college fund. If you don't get every cent back now, you press charges. Recently, my older brother passed away. At that time, he had become engaged to a woman he had only rekindled a relationship with 4 months prior, and after having been apart for more than 20 years. Prior to my brother's passing, he had become upset with my nephew, his only child, for failing to return 2 phone messages and voiced his frustration to our mother and stepfather. On the day he passed, our mother was extremely cruel in how she told my nephew that his dad had died. She even bragged to me about it and reenacted her conversation with my nephew before exclaiming that she was less than warm about it. She also informed my nephew that the fiancé was going to inherit everything, but asked if there was anything of my brother's that my nephew wanted. My mother lied to my nephew. My brother died without a will, which means my nephew inherits everything, and all decisions are his to make. I told my mother that is the law in our state, but my mother stated emphatically that my nephew wasn't getting anything along with my stepfather, claiming that my brother told him he could have my brother's money. Another lie. I was absolutely disgusted by what my mother and stepfather said, and immediately left their home and haven't been back. Over the next few days, I tried in vain to reason with my mother, but she would not back down from trying to give all of my brother's money and possessions to the fiancé, and ensuring that my nephew only received a few token pieces of my brother's estate. So I made the decision to tell my nephew the truth. Now my mother, stepfather, and brother's fiancé are furious with me and said that I had no right and should have stayed out of the situation. Telling my nephew the truth has caused a huge rift within my family, and I feel responsible. I fear my actions may have created bigger issues that my family may not be able to overcome. If I had asked an attorney to explain the law to my mother, or taken a more diplomatic course of action, we might have been able to grieve my brother's death as a family. Instead, Neither I nor my nephew was informed of my brother's memorial service, and only learned of it after it had taken place. At this point, I no longer communicate with my mother and stepfather, which seems to be the case with most of the extended family. Am I the a-hole for taking matters into my own hands and destroying what was left of my grieving family? You may have prevented your mother from committing fraud and going to jail. The only way you are an a-hole is if you've waited too long to notify an attorney of what is going on so that they can get something in place to stop her, and anything given away cannot be recovered. Your mom is a piece of work. I cannot imagine anything a grandson could do that could make me be cruel to him the way your mother was. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. If your brother died intestate and without a spouse, your nephew will inherit his estate as his sole issue. Your mother telling your nephew otherwise was terrible and trying basically to defraud him of his inheritance. He should get a probate attorney and file to protect his rights. Your mother is the a-hole. Bloody hell. Who in the world tells someone their dad has died like that and then brags about it? You did the right thing telling your nephew the truth. It sounds like your mother and stepfather are being incredibly manipulative with this situation and trying to gain from it what they can. You took the right course of action, in my opinion, especially considering how quickly they're moving possessions and money. Your nephew having the opportunity to step in and seek legal advice at this point is so important. Not the a-hole, OP. You did nothing wrong, and in my opinion, made the right choice. My female 20, stepsister Abby, female 20, has moved out since our grandma gave me her diamond necklace. My mother married Abby's dad. My stepfather's parents both passed not too long after they got married. Abby has always hated going over to my grandparents, and she's not always nice to them. She has no desire for them to have any type of a relationship. Abby and I were super close growing up, but something changed after high school. I left for college and she stayed home, then dropped out of community college to pursue another opportunity, but it fell through. When I came home for Thanksgiving break, I could tell things were off between us. She'd blow me off and wouldn't talk to me. Then the same thing happened over Christmas break. I've sent texts and calls, all read but none responded to, and then I reached out to my mom to see if she knew anything, and she said she figured it was jealousy, so I gave her space. Her birthday is right around the first of the year, so that day I sent her flowers, ordered her food on DoorDash, and sent her a corny text message. I didn't do any of it for her to praise me, but I did expect a text back. But I got nothing. Fast forward 3 weeks to my birthday. I flew home so my family and I could have dinner together. Abby opted not to come. At dinner, my grandparents gave me a diamond necklace that was a family heirloom. She wore this necklace every day and had promised me since I was a little girl that one day it would be mine. Abby was in the living room when we all walked in from dinner. Immediately, she knew I had the necklace on. This is when all hell broke loose. She jumped up from the couch and got about 3 inches from my face, screaming that I knew she loved that necklace and that she had begged for it to be left to her. So I snapped back and said it was a family heirloom and that it has always been mine. She then said I implied she wasn't family and how I was a self-centered bee. I told her she didn't want to start with me, and she said since the necklace is supposed to be given to the first granddaughter, we should sell it and split the money so it's fair. At this point, I had enough, and I told her no, and that she just wanted the necklace for the money, and she didn't care or couldn't begin to appreciate the history behind the necklace, and that she didn't even love my grandparents, and that they were just money signs to her. Abby then stormed upstairs, packed a bag, and left. She's now not returning anyone's calls, and says she will come home after I agree to split it with her or give her the necklace. My mom and stepfather think I took it too far and that I was a jerk, and I should just split the necklace with her to end this nonsense. I refuse. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She is your stepsister with no blood ties to Grandma. She doesn't like them and treats them unkindly. She does not deserve any part of the necklace. It is yours. Wear it with love. Not the a-hole. My advice to you would be to get a safety deposit box at a bank and put your necklace in there, or one day you are going to discover it's missing, along with your stepsister. Not the a-hole. Your grandmother gave it to you, not Abby. You're not obligated to sell a family heirloom given to you as a gift. It's outrageous that she would even ask. I, 27 female, was with my boyfriend, 28 male, for 5 years. but we broke up 2 years ago on amicable terms when we moved to different cities. We've kept in sporadic contact since we work in the same field, and I consider us friends now. So when he sent me an invitation to his wedding, I accepted, since I didn't think it would be super awkward and they were planning a pretty big wedding. The location was fairly casual. Think arboretum, garden. But my invitation said white tie only. I reached out to my ex to confirm the dress code, but his fiancée, 28 female, messaged me from their joint Facebook instead. She was very friendly and confirmed that they were expecting white tie only, and even said she was super excited to finally meet me. She also requested I wear a pastel color, describing her dress as vibrant pink and saying she wanted to stand out in the photos. I didn't own any white tie only attire, but after some researching, I settled on a baby blue floor-length dress. Not too poofy, but definitely formal. I felt like it was overkill to wear accessories on top of that, so I only wore small hoop earrings. I felt my outfit was pretty understated for white tie. However, I got to the wedding and nobody else was wearing anything close to what I was. Only the bride was in a floor-length dress, and we had a similar silhouette on our dresses as well, since she had gone with a relatively form-fitting one. Her dress was also a very, very light blush pink, not a vibrant pink at all. I assumed I must have completely misread the invitation and was about to leave so as to not look like an a-hole, and send a nice gift later since they already paid for my seat and all. But the bride noticed me leaving and insisted I stay. I got awful looks the entire time from all the other guests. Some even went so far as to come up to me and call me an a-hole, and our mutual friends at the wedding chewed me out over text later. When I sent them the texts with the bride, they told me it was obviously photoshopped and completely cut me off over it. When I tried to reach out to the bride and groom to apologize to them for what I had worn to the wedding, even though it was white tie on my invitation, I still felt like I should have known a garden wedding wasn't going to be so formal. And the bride got nasty with me and told me if I contacted her again, I was blocked. She also tagged me in a Facebook post about jealous people, which prompted even more backlash towards me. The only people on my side right now are my best friend, and ironically, my ex's best friend, who said she tried to pull something similar on his girlfriend, but he refuses to say anything for fear that my ex will cut him off for it. Not the a-hole, but let this be a lesson to you. Never go to an ex's wedding, no matter what. They expect you to politely decline. Even if you're friends with your ex, their partner doesn't want you there. I was all ready for a "you're the a-hole" verdict. Then I read the post. So the bride told you to wear white tie only, and then confirmed by it. 100,000% not the a-hole. You did as you were instructed. If you're Facebook friends with the ex or the bride, I'd post pictures of the Facebook messages and invitation, with the explanation that you were following instructions with an apology for the confusion, and tag her and him in it. Let everyone see that you weren't trying to upstage her. Joint Facebooks are an automatic red flag. Your ex's wife sounds like an awful, cruel person who purposefully did this to embarrass you. It says a lot if the same thing happened to his best friend. Either your ex is spineless or in on it. Regardless, they don't sound like people you need in your life. You're not the a-hole. Your ex's wife is the a-hole in a top-tier way. Both my boyfriend, 30 male, and I, 25 female, work in IT. He works at what used to be a startup that went public 2 years ago, and he ended up receiving a 7-figure payout. He has by now invested most of the money and has decided to quit his job and live off dividend income, for a while at least, if not permanently. We recently had our son, and I'm currently on maternity leave and intend to go back to work after it. We had initially planned to send our son to daycare, but after hearing about my boyfriend's plans, I suggested we could save the money and not do so, since my boyfriend is going to stay at home anyway. My boyfriend refused, saying that he intends to relax and have fun now that he no longer needs to work, instead of being stuck with childcare most of the day. But the thing is, we live in a high cost of living area, where a good daycare for infants can easily reach $30 to $40K annually. Unlike him, I don't have such a huge nest egg, and $15 to $20K in annual savings would go a lot farther for me. I explained the same to him, and said that if we are still sending our son to daycare, then he should foot the entire bill by himself. He refused again, saying that we had agreed to split our finances equally, which is true, and said that I was going against my word by not being willing to contribute to daycare costs. However, I believe my reasons for doing so are justified as explained before. We ended up in an argument over the same. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I get the feeling that he doesn't want to deal with childcare at all, and that he's just going to relax and have fun while you work. Take care of the kid and the housework. Hooray! Another story about an entitled person who can make kids but does not want to take care of them. My boyfriend refused, instead of being stuck with childcare most of the day. Time to dump him and take his butt to court for massive amounts of child support. He does not get to make a child and then shirk the responsibility. If he is home, he can be dad. Not the a-hole. He is a parent now. He is capable of watching your son during the day. He just does not want to. Putting your son in childcare is 100% a luxury that benefits him alone. If he wants to sit around and relax all day, he should pay for it.